The Department of the Missouri was a command echelon of the United States Army in the 19th century and a subdivision of the Military Division of the Missouri that functioned through the Indian Wars. History. Background. Following the successful conclusion of the Mexican-American War, the administration of the United States Army was theoretically directed, under the President of the United States, by the Secretary of War and the General-in-Chief. In practice, the Secretary of War and the heads of the Army's staff agencies, who reported directly to him, exercised full authority, leaving the General-in-Chief a figurehead, with a lack of central direction. Policy and strategy were de facto developed by the commanders of the numbered geographical departments and 3 division headquarters. After October 31, 1853, the division echelon was eliminated and the 6 western departments consolidated into 4, whose department commanders employed the troops as they saw fit. The system returned to 6 departments in 1858 when the Department of Utah was created in January, and the Department of the Pacific split into the Departments of California and Oregon in September. Military activity affecting one department often originated in another department, preventing efficient use of limited manpower and coordination of efforts. Friction between the Secretaries of War and the Generals-in-Chief, and particularly between Jefferson Davis and Winfield Scott, obstructed reforms in the staff system that might have brought unity of command and civilian control of the military. The expansion of the Army during the Civil War saw a proliferation in the numbers of geographic departments and the subordinate districts, often changing names and areas under their individual control. Some departments eliminated or renamed, only to be recreated again in altered form. Departments of the Missouri and Kansas. The Department of Missouri resulted from the reorganization and break-up the Department of the West on November 9, 1861, after Abraham Lincoln fired John C. Fremont when he would not rescind his order emancipating the slaves of Missouri and imposing martial law on the state. David Hunter served briefly as the last commander Department of the West. The new department included Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, Kentucky west of the Cumberland River and at times, Kansas. It briefly merged with the Department of Mississippi in 1862, but was recreated September 19, now consisting of Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, and the Indian Territory. Colorado and Nebraska were added on October 11, 1862, and the department became generally known as the Department of the Missouri. From 1862 to 1865, the department was primarily concerned with fighting Confederates in Missouri and Arkansas. The Department of Kansas was created for a third time on January 1, 1864, removing major areas from the military jurisdiction of the Department of the Missouri. The new commander of the Department of Kansas, Marge. Gen. Samuel R. Curtis, had 2 districts wholly involved in Indian warfare, but Curtis was absorbed with fighting Confederates in the Indian Territory and bushwhackers in Kansas, allowing his other districts, but particularly Colorado, complete autonomy. Governor John Evans and Colorado District Commander Col. John M. Chivington took advantage of this lack of oversight to aggressively attack Cheyenne villages in April 1864, igniting a major Indian war in July. Curtis created a new district of the Upper Arkansas to wage the war, but he was wholly incapable of locating his opponents. In his other district of Nebraska, the warfare was even more intense, but the forces are too weak to deal with it. Commanders. Civil War: Henry W. Halleck, Samuel R. Curtis, John M. Schofield, William S. Rosecrans, Grenville M. Dodge, John Pope. Indian Wars: Winfield Scott Hancock, Philip Sheridan, John Schofield, John Pope, Christopher Columbus Auger, Nelson Appleton Miles, Thomas Howard Ruger, Orlando Bolivar Wilcox, Department of Missouri camps, forts and posts. Arkansas Fort Smith, Kansas Bear Creek Redoubt, Big Creek Station Plus, Carlisle Station Plus, Camp Caldwell, Camp Crawford, Crisfield Post, Camp Drywood, Camp Grierson, Camp Hoffman, Camp Cowan, Camp Ogalla, Camp Liley, Camp Wichita, Chalk Bluff Station Plus, Castle Rock Creek Station Plus, Cimarron Redoubt, Cimarron Springs Station, Fort Aubrey, Fort Bissell, Fort Coon, Fort Dodge, Fort Downer, Downers Station, Fort Harker, Fort Hayes, Fort Jewell, Fort Land, Fort Leavenworth, Fort Lincoln, Fort Lookout, Fort Monument, Fort Protection, Fort Riley, Post of Southeastern Kansas, Fort Solomon, Fort Montgomery, Fort Wallace, Fort Zara, Grinnell Springs Station Plus, Henshaw's Station Plus, Lookout Station of Fort Lookout, Monument Springs Post, Pond Creek Station Plus, Russell Springs Station Plus, New Kiowa Post, Smoky Hill Station Plus Army Fortified Butterfield Stage stations along the Smoky Hill River route. Missouri St. Louis Arsenal, Jefferson Barracks, Indian Territory and Territory of Oklahoma Camp Alice, Camp Auger, Camp Beecher Fort Otter, Camp Otter, Camp Chilocco, Camp Guthrie, Camp Oklahoma, Camp Price, Camp at Purcell, Camp Rockwell, Camp Russell, Camp Wade, Camp at Kingfisher, cantonment on the North Fork of the Canadian River, Fort Arbuckle, Fort Cobb, Camp Davidson, Fort Gibson, Fort Reno, Fort Sill, Depot on the North Fork Canadian River and Camp Supply, Fort Supply, Sewell Stockade, Sheridan's Roost.